Good morning. Thank you for being here. We are here this morning at the campus of San Diego Unified School District to announce the filing of a major lawsuit on behalf of officers of the district against the district itself, its supervisor, Lamont Jackson, its chief of police, Alfonso Contreras, and a sergeant with the police department, Jenifer Gruner. Our goal and the goal of officers in filing this major lawsuit is to restore integrity, professionalism, and effectiveness to a department that has recently been plagued by serious allegations of corruption and documented toxicity and dysfunction. Most importantly, our officers are interested in ensuring the safety and well-being of our children while they go to school. This case began about a year ago and really began to become serious when Chief Alfonso Contreras assumed the chief role. Officers at the department already knew that he was in a relationship with a sergeant in the department, her name Jenifer Gruner. It quickly became apparent that there were now two camps within the same police department. If you approved of the relationship between the chief and the sergeant, according to the evidence, you were afforded favoritism, better opportunities, better treatment. If you disfavored or did not support this relationship, you were subject to retaliation, intimidation, and bad treatment. That sort of disparate treatment based upon a relationship in the workplace not only violates the code of ethics, which is posted on the department's website, but also California law. And so today, what happened was these officers went first to Lamont Jackson with their concerns. Also, very serious allegations of time clock corruption, including involving the chief and the sergeant. There's pictures that you've probably seen on social media showing the chief and the sergeant at a Notre Dame football game in South Bend, Indiana, while supposedly they were on the clock. That's what the complaint is. Officers faced with this embarrassing display of corruption went first to the superintendent. Superintendent ignored them completely. The officers and the Police Officers Association then did an internal survey, and within 34 officers, almost unanimously, they asked for the superintendent and eventually the Board of Supervisors to investigate this conduct. They asked them to put the chief and the sergeant on leave. They also did something called a morale survey. That is, they surveyed the police officers. They said, rank the morale of the department on an A to F. Average score, a D minus. And so you have a police force here entrusted with being the first line of defense against school shooters, against deadly drugs, against gang violence, now with a complete lack of morale, a complete lack of unity, and abundant and manifest dysfunction and toxicity. And so what are we asking? So what happens when good people, here police officers, are faced with bad conduct, hear allegations of corruption, favoritism, nepotism, and retaliation? What happens when they're ignored? Well, sometimes those good people hire good lawyers, and that's what they did here. And so with no other choice, we now represent 9 officers. That number is growing daily. We are calling upon the school district to immediately place Chief Contreras and the sergeant on administrative leave. We are asking for the district to immediately fully investigate the allegations of time clock corruption. We are asking for the district to immediately and fully investigate the allegations of favoritism and unequal treatment. We are asking for the district to place an interim chief and leadership in place and to work closely with rank and file officers and the Peace Officers Association in terms of selecting that interim replacement. We are obviously lawyers. That means, our first job is to do good. And so we want to do good and restore integrity, civility, professionalism, and ethics to this department. Obviously, we now are forced to file a lawsuit. That the first stages of that will happen in the coming days, and then we will proceed to court if a resolution is not reached in the meanwhile. But I can speak on behalf of the officers and say, look, all they want is to be able to go to their work with pride, with unity, with the professionalism that caused them to become police officers to begin with, and all they want is to best protect our children. And so with that, I do want to turn over the microphone to another lawyer on the case, Amelia Aratunian from my law firm, Gomez Trial Attorneys. She is our director of litigation and will be my co-lead in terms of prosecuting this case. Thank you for being here.
Hi everyone, thank you for being here. My name is Amelia Aratunian. I'm the Director of Labor and Employment Litigation at Gomez Trial Attorneys. I second everything that John said. Really, these officers had no choice. This is a little personal for me. As you all can imagine, I'm about to be a mom of 3. And these officers have a very important duty of protecting our children from bullying and harassment. But how can they do this duty? How can they perform when they themselves are subjected to bullying and harassment? Who is protecting our officers? That's why we are here. So without further delay, I want to introduce Jesus Montana. He is one of our plaintiffs in this case.
Thank you, Amelia. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. I am Jesus Montana. That's Jesus Montana. And I'm here speaking on behalf of all the officers involved in this lawsuit. These are the officers who respond to our schools to protect our students, assist them when they themselves are being bullied, and ensure that they have a safe learning environment, free from those who are targeting our students and cause them harm. But who's here to protect our officers when they receive the same treatment of being bullied, not by the public, not by some stranger, but by their own management, their chief of police, and those within his club? Well, I'm here to speak on behalf of all these officers because no one's here to mentor them on how to get through and how to deal with the mental strain that they are facing day in, day out. A mentor, as we exercise in our law enforcement community, is someone who takes, who's usually a senior officer or a supervisor, and takes a younger officer or a subordinate under their wing and places them in a position where they are being taught on how to succeed, what courses to take, how to make them more successful, and then lead them into that door that's between them and between their future and their level of comfort, and help push them through that door so that they can grow. But when that mentor sits there and actively blocks others from being able to reach that same door, that's not mentoring. That's causing a hostile work environment. When that mentor turns to those officers who are a challenge to his mentee and berates them, demeans them, not privately, but publicly, in efforts to break their self-confidence, or if they're a supervisor, yell at them, demean them, so that those who follow that supervisor lose faith and confidence in that supervisor's ability to lead, that's not mentoring. That's causing a hostile work environment. When a scheduling supervisor approaches management to advise them that the hours being taken by another supervisor, training hours, travel time, is violates department policy because they're taking an excessive amount of time and is told don't worry about it, to then later find out that she's been placed on a special assignment, and then a few weeks later finds out that special assignment happened to be out of state attending a football game with the chief of police who she's dating. I'm sorry, but that's not mentoring, that's playing favoritism. And when you have a chief of police that promotes the least qualified candidates, not for their ability to do the job, but as a reward for doing his dirty work, that's beyond favoritism. It's beyond hostile work environment. That's the evolution of corruption. So what does that where does that lead our officers? Where can they go to inside the department? Nowhere. So they must go outside the department to the superintendent and seek his assistance in ending this corruptive, hostile work environment. But when the superintendent turns around and downplays his actions, essentially supports his comments that the officers are lazy and don't want to do anything, that leaves our officers feeling that they can't turn to anyone. And then someone has the courage to send an anonymous email to the Board of Education and other district leaders, letting them know of the corruption that's occurring within our department, the hostile work environment that our officers have to face, and then go out and protect our students. And then they come out with this facade of an investigation that causes that where they do not interview anyone who has the actual information to support the claims, has evidence to show how this is not just a one-time thing. This theft of time has been occurring over a period of time. This corruption, this hostile work environment, no one is interviewed. That's not an investigation. That's a cover-up. So what are we asking? What are the officers here asking the district to do? We are asking them to protect those who go out to serve and protect our students, not to sit back and protect those who serve the chief of police and his club. Thank you.
Questions? Anyone? Yes.
Is there an amount you guys are suing for, or are you just asking for change?
Is there an amount that we're suing for? Not at this time. At this time, we're seeking administrative leave of the chief and the sergeant and a full investigation.
And you have 9 officers so far that are part of this lawsuit, but you do expect any idea how many more?
Yeah, we now represent 9. There's 34 sworn officers, to my understanding, in the entire department. We represent 9 today. I imagine that number will continue to climb. It does daily. I anticipate that soon after this press conference, we'll represent a majority of the sworn officers within the department.
And forgive my ignorance for the department. Do they have a union? Did they go to the union reps to handle this?
Yes, the question is, do they have a union? Yes, these officers do have a union. They've gone to the union. The union, in turn, has gone to leadership and the superintendent, and they've all been ignored.
And are you working with the union as well, or do they have their own lawyers working on this?
Union has their own lawyers. We don't represent the union.
How did that social media post come about? Maybe he talk to that or just speak to that. Is it one officer happened to see it and then spread it to the other officers, or how did you guys find out?
I can't speak to that. I don't know who caught him at the Notre Dame football game. Do you know the answer to that?
Was it like a picture they posted together, like on purpose, or was it like somebody snapped it because they saw it?
So the answer is, I don't know. During the anonymous email that went to the school board and district leadership, this individual included a posting from Sergeant Gruner's Facebook. So it was one of her Facebook friends that shared it with the with this individual, and then it was included as part of the evidence in the email. This email that went out isn't just an allegation or say, here's what I think is happening. Here is what's happening, and here's a documentation to support these allegations. And that is what went out to the school board. It was leaked out in social media on various different groups, including the evidence that was attached.
Hey Zeus, while you're there,
it was obvious from the time he took office, so to speak, that there were two camps. One of the camps was that sort of somewhat subtle coercion. Hey, you better be on my side even though you don't agree with what's going on, meaning it was the majority of officers who were in one camp but that didn't necessarily want to be on the other side simply because of what was going on.
For some of the members in the club, it was more of survival mode. It's either I join in and do as he wants without question, or I face ridicule. As you see, I'm standing here alone because the officers are afraid of retaliation if they leave here and go straight back to work. So I'm standing here on their behalf because of that fear. And if anything, it should show if they're afraid to stand here for this lawsuit, they're afraid to be at work. And, you know, as for me, I happen to be outside of work due to an injury, but cleared to come back to work. But he will not allow it for me to come in and assist the department for the past 8 months.
Is the Chiefs Club only comprised of other officers? Or other...
Yeah, it's from within the department. It's the majority, I would say about 90%, if not more, are sworn officers of the department.
When was the lawsuit filed, or do you plan to file it later this week, or?
So as of right now, we did submit rights to sue. We did receive rights to sue from the California Civil Rights Department on behalf of each of the 9 officers. We did request and receive immediate rights to sue, and then subsequently we will file the lawsuits. The letters of representation were also served today on the school district police department. I do. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, it might be this week, or?
For the lawsuit.
Yeah.
There are some administrative things that always have to happen before you sue a public entity, so as soon as those clear, a lawsuit will be filed. I will add one thing, just going off of what Jesus said, that out of the 9 individuals we represent, Jesus was the only one who was able to show up because of the fear of retaliation. We will not stand for any acts of retaliation. The department did receive notice of the names of the individuals who are bringing these claims today. If any retaliatory actions are taken, we will not leave any stone unturned to make sure there is justice and integrity is upheld while these claims move forward.
Anything else, guys?
Espanol?
You want it in Spanish?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
If you got it.
I'll give it my best.
Yeah, I mean, if the guys want to